Okay, so welcome to our My Moon Power Musings. And this moon cycle, we're talking to my beautiful friend Namita Marie. And we met online. It was during lockdown, wasn't it? And you came to an online, I think it was a womb ceremony I must have been holding. And we just had such a beautiful connection instantly, and then stayed in connection over Instagram. And Marie is based in Germany. And sorry, not Marie, Namita. God, I'm getting confused now. And but I'd love for you to just introduce yourself and just share a little bit about what you're up to and where you are in the world.
So, yes, my name is Namita Maria, and I feel like I have three main pillars in my life. And these pillars are my spiritual practice, which is rooted in Tantric Tibetan Buddhism, my art practice, which is expressed by my moon flow art as well as my music, and my philosophical practice, where I earn my money and where I work with women and about women philosophers, and mainly philosophical practices of women philosophers and philosophical practices that they use to free themselves from mechanisms of oppression. So these are the main driving forces for me, and they all work together. So without the spiritual practice, I do not have the life force to keep my art and my work in a flow. And without the art, I lose inspiration. Without my work, I lose focus. So these are the main pillars. And then what surrounds it all is nature. So I am a lot in nature every day. If this is possible in any way, I am walking barefoot a lot. I'm swimming. I'm sitting at the fire, listening to the wind. And yeah, this is my life.
Beautiful. I really love the way how you've identified these three pillars and how each one has its own strength, and it feels really, really clear. Oftentimes I think that a lot of people don't have those anchors, and when you have those anchors, you have something to root down into as well. It's really inspiring. Thank you. And then today we're going to be talking about your menstrual blood art. But before we go into that, I'd really love to hear more about your spiritual practice and what it involves, and how you came to that practice. What was it that called you there?
So you and me have something in common from our past. We both come from the fashion industry.
Yeah.
And I was in fashion school for 5 years. I am a fully educated fashion designer. And I finished it when I was 20. And shortly before I finished it, when I was 19, I had a burnout. And I just cried for months and months. And I was so exhausted by this pressure, by having to be someone and something, having to show something of myself that is not me. I was not allowed in this industry to really show my essence. I had to present something that people wanted from me. At least this is how it felt. So it didn't feel authentic. Yeah. And I had a burnout, and I was so exhausted. I was exhausted by even showering exhausted me, eating exhausted me. Everything was too much. And I was so young, 19 is nothing. And I knew something has to change. definitely. So then I ate some mushrooms at the festival, and suddenly I was awake, and I saw I cannot lose my time by working for material that is death, like for clothes. I need to work with something that is alive. I need to find myself. I need to find my core. And this trip turned my whole life upside down. And I started to meditate. And I also started to study philosophy then. So I started to meditate for like 1 year by myself and via YouTube and stuff like this. And I realized I really want to go deeper. I want to have a teacher. And then I found a silent retreat in the Swiss Alps. Back then I was in Austria. This is where I come from. I come from Vienna. It's my home city where my family lives. And I decided I would go to the Swiss mountains to the retreats. And there I found my teacher, like right away. She was sitting there like a rock. And I was blown away by her presence, by her stability, by her ability to stay grounded. And I knew this is what I want and nothing else. And this 7-day retreat also changed my life, definitely. Since then, I never stopped practicing. Wow. And this woman is a lama, a Tibetan lama. She's from Switzerland, so she's a Western teacher, but she was being taught by a Tibetan master. And this master, he sat 40 years in a cave in retreat. And then she was taught by him, and in the 70s. So when all these hippie areas started and Woodstock and everything, she went into retreat with him, and she was in retreat for 10 years, 12 hours a day of practice. So this is something you can really feel when someone spends 10 years every day, the whole day in practice. And since then, I'm learning from her. So this was 9 years ago. And the practice is Tantric Tibetan Buddhism. It's also called Vajrayana. And it's really about clearing the channels. You know, we have 72,000 channels. It's about opening these channels up. It's about clearing the central channel and about being here with the body, about exploring what it means to be human. And it's definitely not about flowing around in spiritual realms, about coming alive in your body, being here, being human, learning what it means to be human, grounding. And yeah.
Beautiful. Oh, I love that. And my whole body's like, ooh, chills. Yeah. And I feel like this is such a deep part of the feminine embodiment work. All of it is like coming into the body, like rooting down and like feeling and being here now and not popping out there. And it's so interesting because I think a lot of the spiritual practices is like the energy is going upwards and that it is that sort of up and out, and then all of the feminine work seems to just be coming like down and in. And it's yeah, it feels to me to be, if it feels for me to actually be empowering, because I'm like actually feeling what's here and choosing to be in this world rather than out of the world as well. Yeah. Beautiful. And then, so tell us about your menstrual blood work as well, your artwork.
Yeah, this is also a really funny story. I saw a video of Teal Swan on YouTube talking about painting with menstrual blood. I was like, yes, this is what I need to do, because I felt so disconnected to my womb still. It was about 6 years ago, maybe 5, 6 years, something like this. And the moment I started to paint with my blood, I never painted with anything else anymore. So I'm painting since I'm like 1 year old. Since I can hold a pen in my hand, I'm painting. And also during the education of being a designer, I learned to paint a lot, women bodies and all this figural art. And there was always something missing. What I loved most in this education is drawing naked females. And so this was my link, but there was something missing. And the moment I started to paint with my blood, I found it. And I felt so deeply rooted in this practice, and it felt absolutely ancient. So while doing this is also why I called my Instagram account Ancient Womb Art, because I felt it in my heart and my soul that women are painting with their blood since years. Since ages, when I painted with it, I saw women painting in the caves. And I kind of remembered painting in the caves with the blood. So it felt so old, and this reconnection to this super ancient, forgotten practice felt absolutely empowering. And then I also have a lot of respect, because the menstrual blood is one of the most powerful magical substances on earth. So it's very important to set a clear intention to be clean with the mind by setting this intention, because things will change when working with blood in your life. And if you're not clean inside and out while doing this practice, things can go wrong. So I have a lot of respect in front of my blood and in front of this magical work, or towards this magical work. And it's something that I was afraid of showing to others. But then I was in the Peruvian Amazonian jungle at a dieta. And while I was in the Amazon, I somehow got a very strong and clear message. You have to go online. It's time to break the taboo. It's time to stand up, and it's time to show yourself with it. And this is when I started working online with it. And like about 2 weeks after this, I found your womb video on YouTube.
Oh.
Yeah, and then I felt you so much in this video, so I connected to you.
Oh my God.
Sorry.
And then, so you said about before you do the menstrual blood art, that it's really important to be clear. Like, how would you get yourself into alignment to be clear?
So I recommend some kind of meditation and body work. So it doesn't has to be like 1 hour. It can be like 10 minutes body work, 10 minutes meditation, or even 5 minutes, but something to connect to your essence, to connect to your source. It can be whatever practice people like to do, whatever meditation, but something to reconnect and to realign. And when we feel realigned, we can also listen to a beautiful music, and to just flow with that. But it's about realign yourself. And then to set an intention. What do I want to manifest today? And then we set this intention. And with setting the intention, I start to paint. And most of the time I'm listening also to music while painting. And this also helps me to stay in the flow and not to go too much into the mind, and but to really let it flow.
Beautiful.
Show me.
Yeah, I went through a phase where I was doing a lot of menstrual blood painting, and the way that I would do it is I wouldn't have like an idea of what I was going to paint. I would just start by just kind of doing dots. And then I would just let the dots just dot, 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 dot. And then at some point an image would come out of the page. And I did this for quite a few cycles in a row. And this image would appear and I was like, oh, wow. It was giving me information for my cycle ahead, for the next part of the cycle. And so I remember one time that this head emerged, and then this whole experience happened that month on this person that I met, and it was like all just like really just, I was like, whoa, like something is happening here. And then at another point, I knew that I was making a really bad decision, but I couldn't stop myself making this really bad decision. And so I'm doing my painting, and I kid you not, like this, it was almost like a gargoyle came out of the picture. It was so like, and I was like, oh, this is horrible. And of course I didn't like it. So I was like, right, I'm going to start again. And I started again, just doing the same practice, dot, 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 and this gargle appeared again. And I was like, oh my God.
Another monster.
Totally monster, totally. But I still, like, I had to, even though my blood was telling me, you're making a bad decision, I knew I was making a bad decision, but I had to live out this decision that I had decided to make, you know. But I was still getting clues from my blood. But it's interesting, since I always found like it was easier for me to paint with my blood whilst I was using the moon cup and collecting the blood that way. But nowadays I really enjoy the feeling of like my blood leaving me, and so I've been wearing like the period pants a lot more. And then with the period pants, I find like I don't really want to paint so much, because it's like, I guess the blood isn't as because I wash it out with water, so it's not as concentrated. What do you do? Do you have a moon cup, or do you?
Yeah, so I actually have exactly the same process, and also due to some shit that happened in the last year and a lot of work that came with it, I didn't paint so much with my blood in the last half year. But this was not only the reason, not only the outwards reason, also the reason that I didn't want to wear the cup so much anymore. So I really had this time in between, and I feel like now I'm coming back, where I couldn't wear the cup because my yoni didn't want it, because plastic. And so now, like 2 months ago, I really started to do free bleeding with I'm wearing also the panties since 1 year or something. And now I really try to feel, okay, when am I bleeding? And then I sit in front of a bowl, and or not in front of, on a bowl, I sit on a bowl, and then I sit on it like 10 minutes, and then I bleed it out, and then I continue my day. And so this is how I collect it at the moment. It's not easy to do this when you're in an office or something. Okay, I go to the toilet. Sorry, it will be occupied for 15 minutes because I have to bleed in my bowl. So maybe we can do this in some years, but at the moment it would be very strange. But why not? I really try to do home office when I bleed as much as I can, or take the day off, and then bleed into the bowl, and then collecting it through that.
Yeah,
because I don't like the blood from the panties. I've never
Yeah.
painted with panty blood.
Yeah, no,
I want it to be pure.
yeah, me too. I'm so glad I asked you because I really wanted to practice again, but I just feel the same. It's like I just don't want to use the moon cup.
Mhm.
But I'm going to practice with my bowl now. Can't come sitting on my bowl. When I
Yeah.
first got into this work, I took it like really like seriously, and I remember like I was like, right, I am about to get, I didn't even have my period, but I was about to get my period. And literally I cancelled everything, like everything, including a massage. And then the woman who was giving me the massage, she called me, she said, if your period hasn't come yet, would you like to come for the massage? And I'm like just sitting on the sofa waiting. Can't come, my period might be coming. That's so dramatic.
It's menstrual dogmatism.
Yes, mad. I'm much more relaxed now, but I also really try to rest as much as I can, particularly on the first day of my bleed. Yeah, I really do. And then, so you were talking about like the power of menstrual blood and how you really respect it. Can you talk more about that and like what your experience has been of like why do you feel like it's so powerful?
There's one example. I painted 3 men with my blood, and these 3 men never left me since then. So there's a strong, deep, and kind of unbreakable connection to these 3 men. And I think painting them with my blood has something to do with it. So also every woman I paint, I do not paint random women.
Mm.
I only paint women where I feel this is a woman that I can stay connected to, even though maybe we are not in contact for years.
Mhm.
In some other realms, this connection will stay. And it's when you want to manifest
Mhm.
and then you use your blood, the manifestation will intensify 100 times, in
Wow.
my opinion. So also when I'm very clear with something I want to manifest, I write it down with my blood.
Mhm.
Um, and then it's really magical work
Mm.
that needs a lot of respect
Mm.
and a lot of humbleness as well. Yeah.
Mm. Beautiful. Wow. Yeah. Oh, oof. Yeah. Because I had with like amulets that I really love and feel really special to me. Like I would paint them in my blood to bring extra power to them. You know, whether it was a crystal or something else that I was working with particularly. But I love that what you just said with the painting of your blood. And then the 3 men that you painted, did you know them already?
Yeah,
Or yeah, you knew them already. Okay.
they were very close, and this connections never broke.
Mm.
They just stayed.
Mm.
Lovers became good friends.
Mm-hmm.
Good friends became lovers, and then it's like sometimes this, sometimes that, but they just stay in my life.
Wow.
They're like anchors of my life also. Yeah.
Mhm. Amazing. Okay, so then as a woman that will be listening to this um, who's intrigued and wants to start working and painting with their menstrual blood, like how would you guide someone to begin this practice?
Yes, so the first question is, why do I want to paint with it?
Mm.
What do I want to experience? What do I want to bring down to this earth realm? What do I want to manifest? What is my intention?
Mm-hmm.
To ask yourself this question, to be very clear about it is the first step. And then it is very important to stay clean in your intentions. Because if you do a love spell with it and some kind of dark black magic with it, it will come back to you. Like the karmic cycles, it will come back to you threefold. And then if you do it with blood, it will even be intensified at coming back to you. So what you put outward comes back always. And the most important thing is to be clear and honest and pure with your intention in painting with the blood. And to be a servant of the great mother that wants to be expressed to you. And then I'm focusing on being pure with it so much because the blood is one of the strongest manifestation of the dark woman inside. And the dark woman inside can get super dangerous if we do not connect with her in an honest and authentic way. And it's also good that she's dangerous because she is protecting us. So this is one of the most important things, to stay very clean and clear with the intention. And then you collect it with a bowl by free bleeding or with the menstrual cup. And I do not use the pure blood. I put out the cloth before I use it with a tea sieve or something like this. So it's good if if there is cloth inside, to put it out so there's only the liquid left. And then I have the liquid with the pure blood and next to it water, 2 bowls. And then I put some music on, set my intention, and then I use aquarelle paper, because this is thick and this is has a very good texture for painting with the blood. And then I use the pure blood to paint, and to make shadows I use water.
Okay.
And then also beautiful experiences that it's not possible to tame it. So it's possible to do shades and shape forms, but the blood will always do its own thing. And it's also a beautiful part of painting with blood, to let it do its own thing and work with the flow together. Sometimes then I take the paper and put it on the top and let the blood, flow around the painting, and to not fixate too much on a possible outcome, but to really allow the expression of the blood to unfold through you.
Beautiful. Oh my God, I can't wait for my period. Amazing. And then can you speak a little bit more about the dark woman and what she means to you and what you've experienced with her?
I learned about her from Miranda Gray. The book is called Red Moon. I think most of the women on your channel maybe even know the book because it's super famous. And she talks about this old knowledge of the 4 cycles, or the 4 phases within one cycle. So the first phase is when the blood has stopped. The first 7 days is the virgin, and then the next 7 days is mother, when you are super fertile. And then the next 7 days are the enchantress, where the magic is slowly coming up and you have a lot of power to act and to create. And then the last phase is the dark woman and the hawk. So this dark woman represents part of us that have been oppressed for ages. Because of this, we have been burnt, because there's so much power inside the dark woman. The woman who is bleeding is in the dark woman phase. And this is the phase where the woman has the most powerful and potent magic. And to really get to know her means to look truly and honestly at your fears, at your anger, at your hate, at everything you don't want to feel, everything that feels uncomfortable and that you normally would push away because you want to look at it. You have to look at it when you're in the dark woman. Because if you do not look at it, it will come back to you. And this is the work, like the shadow work, to work with your fears, to work with everything you are avoiding.
Oh, wow. Your video went all blurry at the same time. I felt like the dark woman was coming through. Oh.
Yeah. And also this dark and also wrathful side of myself, I've avoided it for so long. I even had a time where I burned my anger in the fire, and I said, I don't want to be angry anymore. I hate aggression, so I will burn my aggression to get rid of it. This was 2015. I was very naive. And then I got super sick, like all this anger, it came out of my whole body because it was so much avoided and suppressed. So then I had to do another ritual to bring it back in finally when I realized that this was the reason. And then I started to get it, how important it is to integrate our aggression and our hate and our anger and all of that. And yeah, it's been a long process, and definitely I have some points where I still avoid it and I don't want to look at it, but I do my very best to connect to her and her fierceness.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? Because I think oftentimes when you start connecting into your feminine and like wanting to develop that aspect more, there's this idea that the feminine is all soft and receptive and gentle and sweet and all of that. And whilst that's definitely one spectrum, like there's the whole entire range. And I always say that we go all the way from Kuan Yin and Mother Mary all the way to Kali and Durga and everything in between. And so much of it is about welcoming those different aspects into ourselves so that we're not in one spectrum. But I still suffer with or not suffer, but I find like the part of myself that is like angry and ragey is uncomfortable, but I actually have a name for her. She's called Serpentina. And Serpentina will like rear her head, like really, and she's vicious. She's so vicious, and she only comes out to those that I'm really close to, in partnership and family. But it's really interesting. It's like Serpentina like needs her space to be able to have it. Yeah.
the thing with our serpentinas is they are so unbelievably powerful that we ourselves are scared of her.
Yeah.
Because if I think it also has to do with this generational trauma of the last 1,000 years, that we are all scared of being burned again if Serpentina gets too much space. There's like, all the women, there's this huge trauma in our DNA of being burned for being a witch. And also being a witch has such a negative connotation. And it's good to have respect towards her, but the conclusion should not be to avoid her. It's good to be afraid of her, because if we would not be afraid of her, it would be naive and dumb. So we have to be afraid of her, and then we have to look at her courageously to see what she wants to tell us. And so I just recently, like 1 week ago, rearranged my apartment, and now on this side there is the peaceful altar, and on this side there's the wrathful altar. And on the peaceful altar there's like water offerings, white tara, and on the wrathful offerings there is Kali, Vajrayogini, and fire. So through building up 2 altars instead of 1, and they're facing each other. Wow. I really also integrated both sides.
Oh my goodness, I love that. I'm going to build another altar. And then what do you do when your version of Serpentina like rears up? Like how do you integrate this part of yourself?
Yeah, so I tend to really cut my man's head. So we've been together for 7 years. We separated in April, in a very beautiful way. It was the most beautiful breakup I've ever even could think of. But what happened in this last 7 years is that I cut his head and his ego 1,000 times, and then of course also my ego and my head, because his head is not separated from my head. So it's like, fuck you, no bullshit. And then also I take my head and cut it. And this is what the wrathful force is for, to cut our egos, to cut our stagnated, fixated images of the world, and to open up for something new, to let the old things burn down and to come out like the phoenix into the. And then we dance on the ego, and then we cut ourselves because we know our ego is not separated from the other. The moment we cut the man's ego, we also cut ourselves.
And so how did you come into not cutting his head off anymore? Oh, you're still doing it?
Oh, no, I'm still doing it.
I'm still doing it.
Yeah, and he also came to like it. It started to be some kind of ritual that when he's bullshitting around, and then like the peaceful practices do not work, like, oh sweetheart, I recognize there's some pattern and maybe we should look at it, da 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 da. If this doesn't work for a too long time, I come with my sword. I'm like, enough. And he's thankful for it. He's really thankful for it. He's super afraid of me, but of this side, but he also loves it a lot.
I'm so happy you're saying all those, because I was feeling really bad about the head cutting, but it was like, it's like that point where you just can't be soft and sweet and gentle anymore, and it's like this energy rises up and it's like rah.
Yeah, but it's who we are. It's part of us, and it wants to be lived. And it's sometimes so good to be restful, because when we are restful with truth behind, then it's the real deal. The problem of restfulness is when it's to create drama and to drive yourself into bullshit even more, then it will create so much chaos and suffering. But if you're aligned enough to use your breath to bring out honesty and truth, breath is such a beautiful, powerful force.
Wow. Yeah. I think that's a really, really incredible way to hold it, because even sometimes when you bring out wrath with truth behind it, there can also be that feeling of guilt afterwards, that that I've exploded and that I've upset another person as well. But actually, what you've just said is that if it's coming from a place like of really behind it actually goodness and wanting the best for that other person, or wanting the best for the relationship that you have, it's coming from a different place rather than being spiteful or mean.
So then this is really the most important thing, why we need to connect to our dark force, because it will come out anyway. It will come out anyway. But if we suppress it, it will come out and it will create drama and suffering. But if we connect to it, we have a much bigger possibility to use it to bring out the real deal.
Yeah. And then, so how would you connect to, so let's say that you're not feeling wrathful, or your partner isn't doing anything, like how would you honor that part of yourself and allow that energy to come through in a healthy way?
Yeah, for example, painting with the blood, with a clear intention. For example, the intention could be, I want to connect to the truthful, authentic, and honest force of my breath. And then you could paint a Kali with your blood or something. Or maybe you don't want to paint. You can also put your finger into the blood and put it on your tongue to seal this intention. So the blood is one of the most potent and beautiful forces to connect with the beautiful part of the dark.
Amazing. Wow, thank you so much. Oh, is there anything else you feel like that you want to share before we close our conversation around anything that's come up?
The most important thing for me in my life is to every day tell myself, I connect my authentic eternal self. I command divine right order, and everything that prevents divine right order may leave my reality now. I do this every day, at least 10 times.
Oh, wow.
And this intention, I command divine right order. I connect to my authentic eternal self. Everything else leave. This has led to such a powerful, magical, beautiful path. So I recommend a regular intention setting. To be very clear about it.
Beautiful. Oh, thank you so much. It's been such an absolute joy and pleasure to chat to you today.
Thank you. It was super lovely.
I feel really inspired, and I'm like, oh, I want to paint with my blood. I want to set all my intentions.
Oh, beautiful.
Love it. Yeah, thank you.